Stacking cash, learning the game. No more fear, no more shame. It's not just money, it's how you live. A future for the ones you give. Success is calling, don't ignore. Take control, unlock the door. Dreams ain't distant, they're right in sight. Sam will help you get it right. He's got the roadmap, got the plan, helping you take a stand. Financial peace, a future bright. Sam Knickerbocker shows the light. Call 385-323-2493. Change your life, now's the time.
Welcome back to the Fuel Your Legacy show. And today we have another incredible guest. I got to witness him doing his thing, speaking on stage here at the Brand X event last weekend. And so glad I was there. I wasn't going to make it. Not that I wasn't going to make it. I was going to make it if I could. But we had my wife, Charlie, she was pregnant and due actually last Wednesday was the 17th. And she held off. The baby held off. The baby's now here, super cute. Was born on the first day of fall, September 22nd. So super excited about that. But because of that, I was at this event. I wasn't sure if I was going to make it. I'm glad I was there. I got to listen to Patrick Franz talk about kind of his perspective on brand and why he's become who he is and where he's become. But what we recognized even before the event was I knew this was going to be somebody that we wanted to have a conversation with, go deeper into this, because everybody has their own journey to freedom. And if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that's what I'm all about. I want to help people get free. I want to help people live a meaningful life. I believe that being remembered the way you want to be remembered. And so it's all about my intention to help you accomplish that. So I bring on guests who can inspire you. Maybe you've done listening to me, but have to hear somebody else say it a little different way and everything changes. It's just funny how that works for me that way. So that's why we're here. But Patrick, you can kind of end your story here with what you're doing now. But I'm curious, why are you here? How did you get to where you are? Like, what's the story of Patrick as a young boy? How'd you grow up? What led you to where you are today?
Well, first off, man, congratulations on your new baby. That is awesome. And I just learned that Sam has 4 kids now. So I go, oh, this is old hat. You're used to this. Okay. But hey, congratulations, bro. And I'm excited to be on your show and honored to get the invite. So thank you. Yeah, to answer your question, man, I grew up as an athlete. And that was all I knew. And all I really wanted to know, honestly. People trip out when I say that I've played 23 different sports. People say I didn't even know there was 23. But yeah, I was just an athlete. Too professionally, I grew up as a gymnast mainly because my mother and father ran the Aztec gymnastics program at San Diego State University for years. So I was born right into a gymnast family. Of course, then it became easy for me to do everything else from snowboarding to skateboarding, springboard diving, you name it. So that was kind of it, dude. And you know, what ended up happening, of course, like all of us, is I reached a certain age where I had to become a responsible young man and not just be a young kid playing sports all the time, because there's this thing called money that we need. So of course I did the same thing we all do. I think a lot of us can relate. I went and worked at, Dixie Line Lumberyard for a summer job, loading trucks up for contractors, and I had my normal jobs that were just sort of minimum wage jobs and that kind of thing. And I wanted to be an entrepreneur at a young age and started selling venture capital for startup.com companies when I was 19 and starting to wear my first suit to work in that. Years and years and years ago. I'm a little beyond 19 now, but that the idea was I was going to get into sales because I thought that sales looked better to me on the outside. At least, I saw the salespeople driving Mercedes-Benz and Corvettes, and I saw the regular 40-hour week folks not. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do something, let me get into sales. And that's where my career path went, and wild things in between from my 20s to my 40s, which included, being an inventor with 3 patents in my name and launching a product to the market at the CES show in Las Vegas, 2009. And so, I've always been like an entrepreneur at heart. I've always been on the search for something better, right? And when I say something better, I mean just better than the 40-40 plan that we've always we've been sold for a few generations now, right? And we know the 40-40 plan is to work 40 hours per week for 40 years of your life and then reach this golden gate called retirement. And that's kind of the plan we've all bought into over the years. And I was stuck there, but I was stuck there in a different way. I thought sales was freedom. But, sales guys, they seem to have kind of been able to make their own schedule more so than show up and clock in, right? And it seemed like that on the outside. Seemed like they were doing really well driving Mercedes-Benz Corvettes and, the school teacher wasn't and things. So that, I'm like thinking I'm going to go that route. Well, you tend to get into that game and you learn pretty quickly that high producing salespeople, they always say 5% of the salespeople make 95% of the commissions. Well, you get to learn why. So the ones driving the Mercedes and the Corvettes, they were working more than 40 hours a week. Okay. These guys were working 50 or 60 hours a week. They were taking calls and sales calls late at night, doing this, cold calling, following up and doing, and you go, ooh, the dream of entrepreneurship doesn't seem on the inside like it looked like on the outside. And people, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to make my own schedule. I want to manage myself. I'm going to get rich in this. And boy, oh boy, do you get a rude awakening. And so how I got here now, if you want me to lead into that, which I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was questioned, and you told me before the show, right? It's all about asking yourself the right questions. A question was posed to me, believe it or not, I was at Chili's restaurant and I still worked as a sales manager for a really large home remodeling company. And I had 25 sales reps under me that were running appointments from 9 a.m. to, 7 p.m. And so I was always on call, right? Through about 9 p.m. Usually most nights I was working still. And so mentor of mine, I was at Chili's restaurant. We were having dinner. And for about an hour's dinner at Chili's, I had to get up and go outside into the front of Chili's and do a sales call with one of my reps that was on a call with a customer. And I had to be there as the manager and do all this stuff. And I got up and down 3 times for phone calls during an hour-long dinner. And I kept coming back to the table and he'd still be sitting there and relaxing, eating food. And I came back for the final time. It was at the end of dinner and he looked at me and he said, I had a question. And he's an older, wiser gentleman, by the way. And he said, I have a question for you. And I said, yes, go ahead. And he said, how many more years of your life do you want to work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and always be on call to other people to make this money you're making? And no one you talk about questions asked. No one had ever said that to me, right? People at that age had said, man, you're a hustler. Man, you've been doing well. Man, you got a great job. Man, you're well respected. Man, you do. It was all like the compliments, right? Well, he kind of put it on me a little bit different, right? Yeah, it's all awesome and you're doing great, but how much longer do you want to do this kind of a thing? And of course, most people's answer out there is, well, gosh, I wish I could quit yesterday, but I got bills to pay and I'm doing what I'm doing because I got to do what I got to do, right? Well, you were talking about freedom and that being a big thing you're trying to help people say. Some people say help people break out of the matrix, help people create spiritual and mind, free your mind, those kind of things. And I'm a big proponent on financial freedom because I'm a big proponent on the fact that for now, several generations we've been taught sort of to be financial slaves or cogs in the wheel. So that's where I'm going with all this is he said, hey, let me teach you. Or he said, I'd be willing to teach you is basically what he said. But he said, if you ever made a real commitment to make a real change, and I was able to see that commitment in you, not just you talking, if you were able to make a real commitment and prove to me that you're ready to make a change in life, I will teach you and I'll show you. And I said, what are you going to teach me? And he said, how to buy mortgage notes. And I went, what's a mortgage note? So that's kind of where it all started, right? And for the audience listening now, we've been buying mortgage notes steadily since 2019. My partner actually started back in 2012. I got into it really heavily in 2018 and 19. We started buying mortgage notes. We can get into what that is and how it works and all that, but started buying mortgage notes. And it's really the sexy side of real estate investing. We like to say it's the best kept secret of real estate investing because most people, including me in 2018, don't even know what you're talking about, what it is, right? So we buy the paper that is attached to the real estate. So you got the real estate and then you got the loan, right? We buy the real estate loan. So we take over the debt rights and we collect mortgage payments instead of rent. So that's a little synopsis. We started doing that. And boy, did my life change as my mentor said it would. And it was a slow crawl, not a get rich quick scheme. He kind of helped me see a get rich guaranteed plan and a path I could start walking down that would definitely get me there for sure, based on math, not speculation. And so I started doing this with him, and boy, has it been life changing. And now, of course, end all be all to today, now we're building, 1,000 apartment units out in Florida from the ground up. And we have a $250 million investment fund open for non-accredited and accredited investors. And, we're raising capital and we're doing big stuff. And the beauty of it now is that it's become to a point now, and that's why I love being on your show. Now it's not selfish anymore. Now it's how many more people can I help and how many more families can I help build lasting wealth and legacy? And that's the driving force now behind it. Because once you have enough money and you have your, your cool car you like, and you got a neat watch and you got your fishing boat or your motor home or whatever, like, us men, we're pretty simple to please, right? I'm not a guy that needs a Bugatti. I don't need a Bugatti or a diamond necklace or anything. Okay. So once you have enough money and you're fairly set and what we call you're financially free, A lot more than that is just bonus, if you know what I mean. It's just bonus. So now it becomes, what can I use my skills, my knowledge, my expertise, my team, my people, and things that I've built by changing my thought process, by asking myself different questions, and by taking action, like you said, to make a change in life and not be scared to try. Always have a fallback to go back into sales. I'm good at it. But hey, let's go here and try to change the trajectory of not only my life, but my family's life financially. And let me give it a shot, because we only got one life. So that was kind of how it worked. I took a big leap. I made a bunch of big risks and commitments. And then he said, well, you've shown me you're not just talk. You've stepped up. So I guess I promised you I'd take you under my wing, and there it went, right? So another important lesson, and I know I go back and forth and I get to talk and I'll shut up, but another important lesson is, obviously when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, but boy, is it sure a nice thing in life if you can have an older, wiser, well-experienced mentor. It's invaluable in all facets of life. So anyways, that's kind of my synopsis of my story and where I'm at.
So let's dig in here, because I have a number of questions here. So you mentioned you did at least 23 different sports. What was the most that you were ever doing at one time?
Oof. I mean, I do 4 or 5 different sports at once, but if you're speaking about really competitively, then, I suppose the hardest load that people could do at that age, I guess, was I was several years in a row, I was a 2-sport athlete during the same season for 2 competitive sports I was involved in.
And what were those 2 sports that you were?
I was pole vaulting, believe it or not, pole vaulting for the track team, and I was a springboard diver. And so, of course, I would go to school all day long, and then I'd get out and go to my first practice was down at the springboard diving board for about an hour, hour and a half. And then after that, I'd go set the sun down at the pole vaulting thing for practice.
And were those your 2 favorite sports, or is that just what you've seemed to excel in the most and most frequently?
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to play football.
Okay.
I had parents that said, you're too talented. Why would you let a giant dude break your leg just because you're, yeah. So anyways, one of those situations. But no, I really liked gymnastics. I was a professional inline skater, which sounds funny. Like, when skateboarders used to totally make fun of rollerbladers, but I was a rollerblader that took the skateboarding techniques and the half pipes at the skate parks, and I put the rollerblades on my feet, and then we took the rollerblades to the skate park. And so I was kind of an innovator back then in taking rollerblades more extreme, but that was years ago. So rollerblading was my favorite. I loved surfing. I surfed almost every day in high school, big surfer. And then springboard diving was sort of a natural because I was a gymnast. So
sure.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what do you feel like you learned the most from each of those? Like, what sport taught you the most about yourself?
Well, it goes hand in hand with life and business, doesn't it? Number one, that there's nothing better you can have to excel quickly and excel greatly than a good coach or a good mentor. I could always say the sports I excelled at the most was because I had real hardcore coaches that were there to try to help me get better. It's hard to get better on your own. So that's one thing. In all sports, the ones that you were most likely to excel at is when you had a better coach. That's for sure.
On that note, really quick, how often did you like your coach?
Didn't have to like him.
I know, but how often did you like your coach and oh man, thank you for being the way you are? Were they always kind and gentle and really nurturing? Because the reason that I bring it up is you've just used 2 different words that I view differently. The difference between a mentor and a coach, they're very different in my perspective as far as the energy and what they're bringing to the table. And so that's where I want you to kind of thread the needle there and talk about the difference between a coach and a mentor and what was required from each, and who do you aspire to be, or do you find yourself in sometimes you're a coach and sometimes you're a mentor?
Totally get it, brother. I appreciate that, man. That is so great because a coach teaches you techniques and a mentor teaches you how to navigate life. I mean, it's kind of like you said, it's a deeper connection, right? And so because I came from a high level sporting background where my parents were elite level, coaches in athletics, I guess I might have been a different kid because I was really there to give respect to my coach. And so it was pretty often that since my talent was at a high level and since I was very coachable and I knew how to respect coaches and that, most of my coaches became my mentors and we became closer and we got closer. And I respect them for being open like that and not just being a coach to me, but being open to talk to me about life, talk to me about more so of, being a better young man will make you better at this sport, not just getting, practicing the technique over and over, but you need to work on yourself and, how's life going? And, those were real mentors that ended up making me a better athlete. But certainly they weren't just coaches.
Well, why, now looking back at it, what were some of the elements of figuring out your life that made you a better athlete?
Well, how you are on the inside is how you are seen on the outside. And so, if you are stressed out and if you're overthinking things or if you have problems going on in your life, that can spill over to the court, right? Or the diving board or whatever sport you're in. And so that could have been just basically it as far as their mentorship on life is pretty much anything in life. I mean, gosh, I remember my diving coach I was just at diving practice one time, and this is just a story I could tell you to show you the connection there. But I remember my diving coach; he was really awesome, dude. And I just remember going and I was like, man, I had to rush at lunch because I had to get to class and I didn't really get a lot to eat. And man, am I hungry. And he had gone from working he worked at SeaWorld, actually. He had a cool job, but he worked at SeaWorld and he got off all day at work at SeaWorld and brought his lunch for him to eat so that he could be the coach at practice. Right. He hadn't eaten his lunch yet. We're talking 3 p.m. And I'm going, oh man, I'm hungry. And he's like, hey, come here, man. And I went over there and I'm like, in diving trunks at the pool deck at practice. And he sat there and shared his lunch with me, man. Gave me half his orange, gave me half his sandwich, said, my wife made this for me, but if you're that hungry, bro, you're one of my good divers. Let's make sure you're not hungry. I don't want to be hungry either. I'll split my lunch with you. He split his lunch with me, man. So it's just little things like that, that really can separate a coach who's teaching you technique and in that to somebody who becomes a mentor and even a inspiration more so.
And do you feel like growing up, well, I guess, are you the oldest, middle, youngest, only child? Like, where are you at in the?
Young. Yeah. I have an older sister, 9.5 years older than I am.
Wow, that's a big gap.
Yep.
So when you were growing up, what was your relationship with your parents like?
Really good. Really good. They were so busy anyways. My mom was the head coach of the gymnastics program. My dad was the head director and a professor at San Diego State. So very, very busy and just a normal middle-class family, hardworking folks. And they were trying to raise us best they could. And we had a great relationship. Like I said, I was born into an athletic family, and because I chose athletics as something that I was going to be good at and like to do, I sort of fit in with the family. So.
Sure. So as you're trying to figure out life, you've done all these sports. What was when you were transitioning and doing all those little jobs, was there any input from the people around you as far as like what types of jobs might be more serviceable to you versus non-serviceable?
100%. 100%. Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, first of all, let's just face it. The fact is, when you're going to take a risk on anything and do something that's outside the norm, most of the time, people's friends and family and inner circle is not going to be positive about it. Okay. Let's just face it. Okay. And the reason is they love you, honestly, and they're just trying to protect you the most, right? And they don't want to see you quit something that's doing you okay to go try something that's going to do you better, but you fail and you become in a worse position. They don't want to see you be in a worse position. Also, a lot of people aren't taking risks themselves and they're choosing the easy, comfortable route. And then when you say you're going to go and do something that's amazing, they kind of are like, well, whoa, wait a minute. So it was more so that people were trying to protect me more so, right? It was more so of like, well, hey, you don't need to go be an entrepreneur. You're smart. You can get a good job somewhere. Was
this your parents or family members, like outside your parents? Because your parents are elite athletes. They're already in the mindset of defying norms that you would hope, right?
But not in business, right? Not in business, not with money.
So this is what I want to understand. Like, how can somebody be so believing and faithful and passionate that you have the ability to defy the norms in one area of your life, but then turn around and on the other side of the coin say, no, actually, you should not try and defy norms. You should just be an average human, while they're coaching and mentoring you to be an unaverage human. So that's what I want to understand, like, the intricacy of somebody's mind and your experience witnessing this, and how'd you deal with that?
Well, like I was talking to you earlier, people need to ask themselves what kind of life they want to have, because it's only once, it's only one, give it a shot, and it's very short. So, ask yourself, do you want to be known as you are going to be known thus far? Or do you want to have the life that you're actually living now, or do you want something better? And then how do you ask yourself the question of, what do I really have to lose? And what sort of fallback do I have at the end of the day? And is it so scary to take a risk on yourself, honestly? Yeah, and that's really where I began with asking myself those questions. I think that it's the questions you ask yourself that count, like you said. That's a big point you made to me. And I go, that's great, Sam, because it is the questions you ask yourself. And one of the questions you ask yourself is, are you currently living the life you dreamed of or not? Are you currently super happy and super stoked on what you have done or not? Are you super happy how you're going to be remembered or not? Are you prepared to retire at the age you thought you'd be prepared to retire or not? Are you going to actually leave any good stuff behind for your legacy, for your family or not? Are you stepping up as a man, or are you being lazy? These are the questions. And so that was with me. It was I guess, a combination of the fact that sporting and being a competitive athlete at least instilled in me coachability and a competitive nature. I want to win. I don't like losing. I want to win. And I'm going to try to practice and I'm going to try to do stuff and get myself honed in so that I can try to win. And that was why you went to so many diving practices, so many pole vaulting practices. So you get to the meet and you try to beat the other guy. So it's like in business, I think that same way too. Now, if I'm making a business, I know there's a whole bunch of other businesses out there, but how can I be my best? How can I spend time practicing, focusing, getting better, honing my skills, and then being the best at it? So it's really the competitive nature. And then asking myself the right questions to be honest with myself and answering is if where I'm at and what I'm doing is going to really get me what I want in the next 5 or 10 years of my life. We all know we could keep doing the same thing we're doing now and end up in the same spot we're in 10 years from now. That's pretty simple to do. I could have just kept being a sales manager, and guess what I'd be doing today? I wouldn't be on your podcast.
So in between the sales manager though, because you went from working at the log place or whatever, the place before, and you went into venture capital. At what point did you start asking these questions? Like, was it 2018, 2017 before you started asking yourself as a man these questions? I assume at that point you're already married, maybe you already have kids. At what point did you decide, maybe I need to be awakened to more meaningful questions to ask myself?
It's probably around like maybe high school age when, I was starting to realize, who adults really were. Because when we're really little, we have like a fascination of adults. They're like this mythical creature, these adult people. But when you start to get older, of course, adults are just a bunch of big kids running around trying to figure life out. When I was I started to ask myself who I want to emulate, I guess. Because at that point, it wasn't like I know what I want to do. I wasn't that guy, unfortunately. Like,
were you encouraged to ask that by coaches, by mentors, by your parents, by teachers?
No. You know what? I guess there's a parallel, Sam, because in sporting, right, I would look at a springboard diver, for example, that was far better than me, far well trained, and I would watch them. Because my parents at that time probably couldn't afford the diving coach and diving school they were going to. But I would watch them and try to mimic them, right? And try to follow their body movements and jump as high as they were jumping in that. So it was maybe always emulating something better and then trying to copy it.
Were you in this process? Were you looking at them as like comparing yourself to them? Because you used another word that I appreciate and I think is more meaningful and more based in love and growth, emulation. So that sounds great now, looking back at your teenage years. But did you experience the comparative side of that, where you're looking at them saying, dude, that guy's just so much better than me? And how did you switch from comparison? Who taught you to switch it from comparison to emulation from a mindset? Because both people are looking at the gap between where they could be and where they are. Both people are looking at it. The difference is the lens. Are you looking at it through a lack of or an excitement to grow? So who taught you emulation rather than comparison?
Yeah, well, I'm certainly that it had to come from my parents in the beginning. I mean, just instilling in me that no other person is really better than you, but maybe they've been doing it longer. Maybe they're more practiced. Maybe they're more focused. Maybe they this, maybe they that. And you can do all that too. So it doesn't separate you from anybody else on the planet. You have the ability to do what you want to do. And I guess that kind of a thought process just instilled at a young age from my parents said, well, if that guy could do it. And I remember my mom telling me the story of how ridiculous it was. I guess so it did come from my parents, because now with this story, it makes all the sense in the world. My dad coached weightlifting at San Diego State, and he used to weight train the football players from the San Diego State college football team. And there's some linebacker in there who weighs 340 pounds and he's bench pressing like 500 or something, right? And I was like 5 years old, right? And I was of the adage of that I would emulate him. Now, he was no better than me, of course, but I'm 5. Okay. So
Sure.
my mom said that I was kind of talking to him like I was something big and I was 5 years old. And then he said, well, go ahead, try it. And my mom said I laid down on the bench and I couldn't even reach the bars because my hands weren't long enough or what. But I grabbed onto the bar and I did like a He-Man Hulkster and I couldn't move it a half an inch. But I tried to lift up this 500-pound bench press or whatever. My mom said even at 5, I thought I could really do it. If that guy could do it, then I can do it. Watch this. I didn't understand the fact that I couldn't do it for a reason.
Sure.
That's probably it.
And I wanted to highlight that. Again, I didn't know where it was, but I can see it in your way of being. I could see it on stage. I could see the way you talk. And what the cool thing about language is it betrays who you are. It betrays me all the time, right? I'm grateful for it. I appreciate being around other people who can point out, like, hey, that's a low frequency thought. That's a low vibration statement. And it's like, man, I'm doing all I can to vibrate at a higher level, but I still say things that expose my low vibration parts of myself, which is fine. Like, I think it's wonderful that we have other people who are vibrating at different frequencies in different areas. Just like your parents could be vibrating at a really high frequency of competition and growth and everything in the sports world, but then they're vibrating at a low vibration when it comes to their income. And so it's not that they are bad people, but how do we transfer? There's a lot of people who listen to this podcast that think, man, I'm a really good teacher, but teachers don't get paid very well. So they excuse themselves out of money because they think that the thing they're good at doesn't get paid very well. On the other hand, Tony Robbins is a really good teacher and he gets paid really, really well. So it's not about the skill set. It's about the vertical that you're applying the skill set in. Maybe you were never going to make a bunch of money in sports, and even the Olympians don't make a bunch of money. They make maybe money through ad deals and sponsorships and stuff, but they aren't making money winning medals. But if they take that dedication, those skill sets, those belief systems, those identities, and then they take that and they apply it into a different vertical, then they're able to apply it and receive the money from that. So you take these experiences of seeing emulation, seeking emulation, saying, okay, how can I do that? How do I manage this? Now, I'm curious. One, we're going to run out of time for sure because I have so many questions, but that's okay.
We'll do part two.
As an athlete, no matter what the sport was, how often did you watch the tape of other people, and how often did you watch your own tape, like playback of yourself doing it?
Yeah, good, really good question. Well, I watched other people far more than I watched myself. I relied upon, well, and I guess the point is it's very difficult to coach yourself. So, if Tiger Woods was coming up in the golf world and he never had a coach and he was trying to look in the mirror and then coach himself, he wouldn't have been able to turn to be Tiger Woods. So I let the people watching me and coaching me, they watched me to tell me how I'm going wrong and what I need to fix. And then they would watch me and did I fix it? Because feel versus what's real is different in life. So it might have felt I was doing it right, but if somebody else was watching me, they would have said, no, it was still off. So get this way, try it again until I could get it. That was them watching me. So I would rather had watched other people far better than me so that I could, like I said, continue to try to emulate. And of course, I figured it was logic to me. If the guys are the best at it and I emulate them, I'll probably be the best at it.
Sure, which makes actually complete sense and is a logical thought, not an emotional thought, but a logical thought. So let's take this one step further before we shift into a different topic. Now with the advent, I went golfing today at a golf simulator, and we were just a bunch of guys having fun. But what's fascinating is they've got, I don't know how many different cameras looking at you while you're doing this. It's not like Top Golf where it's just like shooting the shit type of experience, but this is like they're analyzing everything. They're showing you exactly where your ball hit, what angle, like they've got all these things happening on the simulator. With the advent of AI and technology, do you think that the statement you just said, hey, if Tiger Woods was coaching himself, do you think that there's still a needed human element to deal with the emotional aspect, not just the technique side of like, well, we have computers that can analyze your technique. We have sensors that can manage your swing and the whole night. Like they can do everything for you from a technique side. They can mimic your technique. They can show you where you're failing, where you need to improve. And you could probably watch enough film of yourself to improve. What's the value, though, of actually having that interpersonal relationship with a mentor, not just the technique side?
Well, AI won't share half their lunch with you at practice, number one, right? And okay.
It will share all that it has, Patrick.
Yeah, right. And AI won't earn your trust either, as far as real authentic trust is concerned. So, the fact that someone was willing to break bread with me who was coaching me and show me that he's a normal man, not just my coach, and somebody that's authentic like that, well, that's tough to get from AI. And, I guess I would say 100%. I would say 100% that even as AI gets more and more and more, and I heard somebody say this the other day along this point, it says, as AI gets more and more and more, and all the idiots out here who can use AI, and then all of a sudden think they're doing something cool, well, that's going to be very duplicatable, very easy to sniff that everybody's using that AI. So what will end up happening as it grows and grows and grows, everybody thinks AI is going to take over. Well, what will end up happening, I think, is the adverse, which is when AI takes over like that, there's going to be a huge demand on normal live video like this. And it's going to slim down the people that are even brave enough to get in front of a camera because they've been used to using AI. So I think this and a real coach that's shaking your hand, giving you a hug, breaking bread with you, earning your trust as a human being, because you will take his coaching more importantly. You'll listen to what he says more importantly, take it more to heart, and really try to do good to do it more so with that coach than you would with a computer teaching you.
Well, Yeah, so I want to highlight this because I believe there's physical and there's spiritual. A good mentor, a good coach is probably going to use all of the AI in the process, but humans have the ability through the process of faith. They're willing to go die for somebody. They're willing to go do something above and out of the ordinary. They're willing to sacrifice and try harder for somebody else than they do for themselves. Most humans. There's probably some sociopath out there that literally will do more for themselves than anybody else, but that's not human nature in general to do more for yourself than for somebody else. It's human nature to do enough for yourself to be good, but it's
So
also
huge.
human nature to be willing to die for somebody else. And so when you can build, you use the word trust, but when you can build that energetic relationship, and then when that person, because we all are going to doubt ourselves, but when you doubt yourself to an AI and this computer's responding, oh, I believe in you, you're a computer, it doesn't have the same effect as that respect and trust you have for somebody. And then that person to then pour that belief back into you and say, look, I believe that you're worth it. I believe that you can try harder. I know you're tired. I know you don't want to dive again. I know you don't want to go for another round of boxing. I know you don't want to run the next mile. I know you don't want to do the next set. I know you don't want to do one more. But what if you did just one more? Just do it for me, right? Just do it for somebody else. And then you're like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And that isn't going to come from AI. That is going to come from an interpersonal relationship. So what's funny about this, I was training my team this morning on what their beliefs are. I read a book with my team every Monday, Wednesday, Friday called The 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class by Steve Siebold. If you haven't read it, phenomenal book. It's like in a daily devotional type book. The one we read today was talking about how professionals are comeback artists. They always are coming back. They never give up. The reason, so I transitioned that conversation into this conversation of you're only going to go to the extent that you believe you can go. You're only going to act based on faith. And so I had my team, I said, hey, Google, what's the definition of faith? I said, look it up. I didn't tell them how to look it up. But they all come back with this definition of faith as like believing in something you can't see. And what's funny is that for whatever reason, AI could say, all right, oh yeah, I did it on Gemini, I did it on this. AI is removing, they're coupling and synonymizing faith with belief. And faith in my world has nothing to do with belief. Even in a religious context, we don't just say generally have faith. We say have faith in something. Action in, act because you believe. And so we had this whole dialogue of like, you are only going to act and take action based on what you believe. So belief is important, but faith is the action on the belief. And it's that faith element, that spiritual element that a mentor seems to bring into or brought into your life and allowed you to get to where you are.
Well, let's face it, man. I'll make it simple. One statement. Okay. Sometimes I practiced my ass off gruelingly only to get better to impress my coach because I loved my coach so much and I wanted to make my coach happy. I would not be doing that kind of extra work to impress AI.
Absolutely. Well, and so this goes into the next thing because you took a step out. You eventually got into venture capitalist sales because it sounded like when you said this first time, again, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I am replaying what you said and want you to add clarification. It seemed like you were noticing, okay, you wanted more in your life and you were going to where you saw, keep in mind here, I'm talking about seeing visual, materialistically, you saw something more. You saw a better lifestyle. You saw somebody living what you thought was a better lifestyle. But juxtapose that beginning self, getting into venture capitalist, becoming a successful sales manager with what you also said about like, man, now I have this fund. I have all the money I need for my family. Now I'm living in purpose, not in trying to chase the things that people see. So what about, because there's a lot of people who are just starting out and they think my life would be better if I had more money. And my experience is anybody who gets a lot of money realizes that if they don't become a better human, their life is not any better with money. It's still their life and they still sleep in the same bed or maybe a different bed, but it's still the bed they're in, unfortunately. So they didn't change anything and money didn't solve the internal relationship with themselves, even though they thought that it would. So talk about that a little bit, because there's very few people, less than 1% of America, that can actually address that transformation of going from an average, ordinary income life, believing that money was the solution, getting to the money and realizing I need purpose. I don't need money.
Boy, Yeah, we're gonna have to do part 2. Yeah, no, boy, oh boy, where do I even lead with that, brother? Look, man, most people are working jobs that they have to go to, not necessarily that they would want to go to. Okay. Most people are not making, and I'm not trying to be a wise guy here. I'm just saying most people aren't making so much money per month with their 40-hour a week job where they spend all their time away from their family and everything like that. Most people aren't making so much money that would be easy to replace with something that they're passionate about these days with today's world. Okay? And also the money mindset. I could get really deep on that, so I'll just make it easy, right? But okay, first of all, what is money? Well, you talked about asking questions to themselves. Okay, people have to ask themselves if they know what money is. Okay, that's number one question. If you know what money is, that's where you have to start. If you don't know what money is, but you're trying to chase after some, then that's kind of a silly conundrum you're stuck in, isn't it? Everybody wants a bunch of money. Why? What is money? It's, that paper stuff, that green paper stuff, and you spend it on stuff. And obviously you don't know what money is then. Okay. So knowing what money is, knowing how money is created, studying actually what money is will probably make you better at gathering some. Okay. That's number one. And number two is understand that you can probably replace your current job income, which ain't as much as you think it is, with today's world and the internet and the YouTubes of the world and all this great stuff we have available at our smartphones. Okay. You can probably do something you're passionate about that just you love to do every day to replace your 3, 4, 5, 6 grand a month you're making 40 hours a week working for somebody else. That's not hard to do. You just have to convince yourself it's not hard to do. Okay. And you got to believe in yourself. It's not hard to do and you can do it. The other one is this. You've had a lot of money. Don't trip. All these brokies. No. I go, how old are you? I'm 47 years old. Well, how much money have you had access to since you started working when you were 16 and you got your first job? Haven't a lot of money ran through your fingers, man? I mean, probably millions of dollars over the years. Well, I don't look at it like that. How much of that money do you have left over? None. I told you I'm broke. Well, what were your financial principles? I didn't have any. What are financial principles? What are you talking about? So then ask yourself, do you know what money is and do you have financial principles? Now, if you have financial principles, you understand financial intelligence, it's very easy over a bit of time to become wealthy and financially free. Now, if you don't understand how money works and every time you get some, you spend it, then of course, like I said, you'll be in the same place you are financially 10 years from now because you're using the same habits and the same mindsets. All it takes is to change your mindset a little bit and then to take that new mindset and allow that to help you change some habits. And boy, within 3 to 5 years, can you be in a whole different place, not only spiritually, physically, if you're like wanting to get back in shape, whatever, but financially. So I'll tell you something trippy, Sam, because I know we're coming close to the end here. But I didn't get into what Node Investing is, but I run Node Investor University, right? At Node Investor University, we teach people it's a school, right? It's like, if I taught people house flipping and I had, house flipping university, right? But I don't teach people how to do property. I teach people how to do the paper, but it's Node Investor University. And we teach people this, right? How to use this niche investment vehicle to become financially free. And so check this out, man. I showed somebody a plan, Sam, the other day, because the math don't lie. I got my calculator out and I was like, look, I was calculating it out with somebody. I showed someone that they had to do 9 deals. They had to do 9 transactions. The game I play in the note space. They had to do 9 transactions and 9 transactions using other people's money. They didn't have to have a penny into it themselves. They just have to have the skills and the knowledge to be able to do it, right? Because the skills and the knowledge become of high value. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So I go skills and knowledge, and I'll show you how to do this. You do 9 transactions using other people's money and you can quit your job. You've replaced your full-time income with passive monthly cash flow. Now you can just do what you want to do. Go to golf bar and, whack some balls on the monitor with your buddies. Open up a dog park because you love dogs. Go spend time with your kids. Do something something you want to be doing, because in 9 transactions, I showed this man how he could replace his 40-hour a week income, bro, in 9 transactions. If that doesn't help people change mindset and have a different outlook on this money thing, okay? Guy's been working 40 hours a week. He's on the 40-40 plan. He's got 20 more years left to work, 40 hours a week. I think he was making $4,500 a month. Okay. And I showed him, I reverse engineered his $4,500 into what I do. And I showed him you could do 9 transactions and not have to go to work no more, bro. But that should be right now. Your audience should be saying, what the hell does this guy do? What are these notes? Right? Because yeah, man, can a dentist open up a dental practice and then fix 9 fillings and then be able to retire and shut his business down? No. Can a chiropractor adjust 9 people's backs and then get paid in perpetuity every month passively? And no. But I show people, this guy specifically, how you could do 9 transactions and not have to redo that work. I mean, just get the 9 transactions done. And once you get the 9 transactions done, you'll have $4,500 a month of passive cash flow coming into the mailbox every month on the 3rd. That should put things in perspective to go, whoa, I didn't know money and passive cash flow was that easy to get. I thought it was some magical thing that you had to be LeBron James to have.
This funny thing though, I don't know who I heard this from, but it's such a good quote. He said, most people are looking for a get rich quick scheme, but then once they find something that they could make money quickly, they aren't willing to do the work necessary to do it, or they think it's a scam. So you're like, oh, I'm looking for this thing that I'm going to win there. I'm looking for this lottery ticket. But then when you show them something that's not a get rich quick necessarily, I think get rich quick is it's been bastardized, but like you can make a lot of money quickly. There's nothing wrong with that because the money comes through.
Sam, what's rich?
Exactly. I agree. But that's why I'm rephrasing. Like you can make money quickly and it's about a transaction of value. So it has nothing to do with time is actually not connected to money. The lie is that your time is connected to money. Time is not actually, money and time are not a synonymous thing or even in the same relation of energy or space or time or anything. They're not in the same category. But people don't get that. So they think, oh man, how could I do that? That seems wrong. I've been taught that it's wrong to be able to make money passively or to have money come to my bank account passively. And I just think that they're unwilling to do what's necessary. And you had to go through this. Well, I was used to hustling. And I've been told my whole life that hustling's good, that living somebody else's dream is good. And now I've got to say, okay, how is this serving me and my family and give myself a real honest score on that?
Because you know what, Sam? People don't want money, bro. They think they want money. But in the underlying of that is people want to have a lot of money because they believe having a lot of money will give them freedom. So really people are looking for freedom and they're just figuring out, how can I hustle? How can I get all this money so I can finally be free? And boy, if I could be free quicker than 65 years old when everybody is retirement age. No, I want to do it by the time I'm 50. I want to do it by the time I'm 40. I want to do it by the time I'm 30. So everybody's trying to figure out what can they do? What hustle? Well, I was the same way. I was an inventor, right? I'm going to reinvent the wheel, man. I'm going to get patents in my name and I'm going to be the next rich guy. This is so crazy, right? Because you're thinking, boy, if I got blessed all of a sudden with like $5 million, I sold my company or something like that. Now I'm sitting on $5 million. I'm done. Life's good. I'm stress free. But you don't even know what to do with the 5 million if you got it today. So
the problem is, exactly what you're saying. The problem is that people don't like when I say this, but it has to be said. Poverty is a mental illness. Okay. And no matter how much money you dump on poverty, our country's been trying to do it for a long time, just dumping money on poverty. Poverty is a mental illness. And until you get mentally healthy, no amount of money can solve your poverty. There's no amount of money that can solve your poverty.
And by the way, I'll just smooth it. I love what you said, bro, because I like to smack it right in the face. I'm going to make it a little better on your audience, if I may. I will say this. There's an old saying, you don't know what you don't know. So, you know, that's fair, right? And in high school and in college and your parents and their parents who are your grandparents and so forth now for generations have been learning lessons and passing lessons down and teaching us things that we should act by and live by that were not the wrong lessons, but our parents didn't know what they didn't know. And so if you don't know what you don't know, can you get blamed? Can you call it, oh, you're having a mental illness? I don't know if I go that far. I like it. I don't know if I go that far. I just say, look, maybe these people just don't know what they don't know. Now, here's where the mental illness may come into play, Sam. If somebody does get the knowledge and now they do know, but they don't decide to act on it and still complain about being brokey, there you go, mental illness, because they're not. But I would tell you this, most people, again, Sam, most people, even experienced real estate investors that are listening to this, most people don't even know that instead of buying a physical property and acting as a landlord, you can actually buy the mortgage note and act as the bank and collect someone's mortgage payment every month. So I got a homeowner living there paying me their mortgage payment every month. I don't have a tenant living in my house paying me rent. I got a homeowner living in their house paying me their mortgage payment every month. Most people don't even know you could do that. And talk about passive, Sam. Do people tend to pay their mortgage payments? Oh, yeah, they sure do. And guess what? I'm not the landlord, brother. I'm the lender. I'm the bank. And they have to pay me their mortgage payment. I have their house as my collateral if they don't pay me, sure. But when the toilet leaks or the roof has a problem or the fascia needs painting or something like that, is it my responsibility? No, they're the homeowner, but I still collect that passive cash flow from real estate all over the country without even owning the real estate. So like now that I've said that, if you're hearing this, people, and you're going, what did he just say? Okay, now you know. So if now you know and you don't take action, reach out to me. Go check out noteinvestoruniversity.com. And if you're ready to make a financial change and now you know, but you don't take action, then shame on you. But if you never know, you never know. Okay?
Sure.
If you don't know, you don't know.
I'm going to defend my statement just a little bit because I enjoy this conversation. We don't have time for everything, but I think it's a good conversation to have. So my background is actually in neuropsychology. And what's funny is if you go like I'm assuming you've been to, enough people in this world that you've experienced hoarders. You've experienced low vibration people. I believe, and maybe you have never run across this, but I have definitely. I've experienced people with millions of dollars who are hoarders, and they smell the exact same as somebody who has no money and lives in a hoarder house and they're broke. Because all we are as beings is we're frequency. We are frequency. We are atoms that are dragging together. And all smells are literally frequency. Poverty is a disruption of your frequency. It's your brain not operating in its optimal way. And so if you were able to rewire your brain wires and restructure how your brain processes information, then you actually would stop stinking. It's crazy, but poverty stinks literally. It doesn't figuratively stink. It literally has a smell to it.
Hey, Sam, do you think, hey, there we go. It originates from stinking thinking.
It is. Somebody knew this way before I did. I just listened. But it's absolutely illness. And people don't necessarily want to accept that all the time. Well, I'm not here to blow up somebody's life completely, but I do think that the sooner we can accept reality for what it is and recognize, see, I say this again, just like you saw people better than you and you saw emulation rather than comparison. I say this from a position of love and an understanding that emulation works, which means when I see the gap of what wealth looks like and what poverty looks like, I know some very rich poverty-stricken people, and I know some really lack of income, not wealthy, whatever you want to call them, poor, you can call them poor, people who are very, very wealthy and rich in mind.
Yes.
So poverty is a mindset rather than a circumstance. And that mindset leads to circumstances sometimes, but not financial circumstances. Money, this is where time and money, these things are separate. Money goes to the person who desires it, demands it, and does what's necessary to acquire. It respects absolutely nobody. You could be the worst person on the planet or the best person on the planet. Money does not care. It just cares about who called it to it, who did it, who believed that they were going to get it. That's why we need more good, faithful, honest, hardworking, moral people to decide that they're worth money. Because if you don't, people who don't have morals, people who don't have ethics, people who are going to take advantage of people, they believe they deserve it. So why not you believe you deserve it and actually go make a change? I'm going to finish on this because we actually are out of time. But when you're thinking of Patrick, we talked about this earlier. And yes, it was intentional. I set up the conversation this way. I pre-programmed the conversation. Think what you want. Here's the deal. You could go on Google, like, I don't want to sign up for some university. I don't want to sign up and pay somebody to teach me this. Okay, go have ChatGPT teach you all about note investing. It can analyze your strokes. It can tell you all the contracts. It can do everything for you. Guess what it can't do for you? It can't have a personal, trusted mentorship relationship to help you keep going when you get discouraged. Because Patrick didn't win every deal. He wasn't successful every time. You're going to face disappointment. You're going to face things that fall apart. You're going to get upset. People are going to steal from you. People are going to misuse you. People are going to say nasty things about you. All of the things in life still exist with or without AI. Having a good mentor there can reinstill, hey, this is what we're doing. We're doing this for the right purposes. We're serving. We're helping. We're adding value. Having the right mentor in your corner will absolutely change your success because it's a spiritual journey to success. It's a spiritual journey of fulfillment. And that comes through mentorship, not through coaching. I think AI could probably coach you. I don't think AI can mentor you. That's all I have to say. I appreciate your time, Patrick, so much.
So awesome.
And we can definitely do another one of these calls.
We'll have to do part 2 and do a continuation, brothers.
Yeah. This was crazy. Once again, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, find out more about what you're doing, how you're serving and helping families, how would they interact with you?
Well, easy to remember. You can email me. It's patrick@investbrilliantly.com. So if you go to patrick@investbrilliantly.com and just shoot me an email and say, hey, what's up? I heard you on the show or what have you, and I have questions. I'm super open. I love having phone calls with people and trying to help evaluate if I can offer value to somebody else's life and so on. So yeah, man, I'd love to share my story and show people really how it's not at all unattainable to get financial freedom at all. And so that's what I want to help people with and so forth. So yeah, feel free, patrick@investbrilliantly.com, reach out, go to noteinvestoruniversity.com if you want to check out our program. And look at if you're somebody that wants to just be an investor, okay, if that would be something that you'd look at or what have you, you can always reach out to me. I try to provide opportunity to, where people are at. Being in a coaching program is only right for some people, but other people have different needs I may be able to meet. So however I can offer value to your audience, it would be my pleasure.
I appreciate that so much. And go to his websites, okay? Patrick, this is the email, patrick@investbrilliantly.com, or go to noteinvestor.com. If you're interested, if you're not, this is not a recommendation.
Note Investor University. Note Investor University.
There we go. Thank you. Noteinvestoruniversity.com. But this is about just becoming more aware of what options you have. You don't have to be stuck in your life or feel stuck. There's freedom out there, and you can take it if you want it. Okay, so say that. I almost said, in the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Boy, I believe it.
Amen,
okay?
brother. Amen.
I believe it. So we'll see. That's so funny. We'll catch you guys next time on the Fuel Your Legacy Show.
Call now, don't hesitate. 385-323-2493. Change your fate. A legacy in motion once you go.